Bueno, se viene 3, 2, 1.
Hi, I'm Jonathan Rogers from Grinding Gear Games.
Go.
And welcome to GGG Live. Today we're going to show you an
GGG Live.
exclusive reveal of what's coming next for Path of Exile 2. Twitch drops are enabled on today's live
Ya
stream,
tenemos Twitch
so
drops,
you'll be
gente.
able to claim your Sun Priest's Incineration rare finisher effect by following the instructions below. Now with that out of the way, let's get started.
Okay, here we
It's
go.
time to give you a teaser of what's coming in Path of Exile 2, the Third Edict.
Ok, se viene, se viene, se viene.
Karui! I have called you here to save our people. To save our way. Over the ages, we have known pain like no other.
Oh shit.
But we endured. And we became mighty.
Se vienen los Karui.
Now, outsiders dishonor our shores. And we have stood by, doing nothing. Hear my voice, ancestors! Show us your strength! Show us the true way! I understand.
Ok. Alright. Esta habilidad la conocemos. Esa no. That's new. Damn, ese boss se ve cool. Oh, mira. Vamos a tener el próximo. Güey, ya va. Eso era Tota. Bro, creo que eso es Tota.
The true Lakura Makoi will rise.
Acto 4, ok. Esta parte era verdad por lo visto. 3 actos en interludio. 35 nuevas áreas. 24 nuevos bots. ¡Es en Expedition! Va a cambiar el tema de las gemas supports. Muchos reworks de skills. 24 lineage support. 25 endgame maps. Nuevos items. 150 notables. Sprinting. Nuevo sistema de tradeo. Bro, ¿sí lo van a hacer? ¿Sí lo van a hacer? Rise of the... Bro, se vive. Abyss, baby. ¿Son 3 voces? ¿4? ¿5? Jesus. Bro, ¿va a haber trade? Abyss y trade. Ooh. Ooh.
Now, as you can see,
Okay,
there's a
no
lot
need to be
going on, and we have a lot to reveal today.
Oh, God.
We'll start by going over Act 4, the next chapter in the Path of Exile 2 storyline. But that's not all. There's also 3 new interlude acts to get you to Endgame, which means we're removing Cruel
3
Difficulty
actos
2.
intermedios para remover
After
la
that, we'll be
dificultad
going
cruel.
through the massive changes to characters. I'm super excited to show you how I've overhauled
Buffaron
the
todas
entire
las
support gem
clases, all
system,
classes.
added new skills, and yes, there are buffs. Next, we'll go over the
Full
Rise
buff?
of the Abyssal,
Full buffs,
this
dijeron.
season's exclusive league mechanic, and talk about the new rewards, crafting systems, areas, and bosses that it adds.
Liga
After that,
exclusiva,
it's on to
ojo.
changes we're making to the endgame. Then it's time to talk about items,
¿Cambio el endgame?
crafting, and oh yeah, trade. That's going to be a big one.
Trade
We'll then go
asincrónico.
over our new support
Trade
packs
asincrónico,
and
gente.
finish up with a live Q&A session
Compra
where
ítems de
ZD will
millones que
ask
están
Path of Exile 2's
offline.
game directors, myself and Mark your questions from Twitch chat.
Oh.
And after that, at 4 p.m. Pacific, hatch notes.
Bro.
They're not quite complete, but they should give you some nice details to chew on.
Bro, I was here, dude.
We've got a lot to
Vas a
cover
poder
today.
comprar
But first,
ítems
another
offline
announcement.
de personas.
When the
O sea,
Third
deja
Edict
vendiendo
launches
y
on the
te compra.
29th, we'll be having a free weekend for Path of Exile 2.
Free weekend.
That's right, Path of Exile
¿Confirmado?
2 will be free for the first time without requiring an early access key. The free weekend will end on September the 1st, so you'll
Empieza el
have plenty
29.
of time to give the
si
game
no
a
tienes,
try.
si no tienes Path of Exile 2,
All right,
vas a poder jugar de
let's get
29
started with
el
Act
primero.
4.
spin de free,
The story continues from the end of Act 3.
Acto 4.
Doyani has agreed to help you find an ancient weapon that can be used against corruption.
Doyani te
the
ayuda a
instrument of the
conseguir una
Third
arma
Edict.
contra la corrupción.
The weapon was broken in ages past, but he believes that the pieces may be found in the Karui archipelago, the home of the Karui tribes.
Ok. Tiene que
You will
conseguir
need
los
to journey to
fragmentos
Kingsmarch.
del arma.
Hire a ship and set sail.
Contrata un barco.
When you
y
open the map, you
empiezas a
can
ir.
choose to sail anywhere you like. Act 4 is completely non-linear, and you can visit the islands in any order you choose.
Oh, es completamente no lineal. O sea,
Will you
puedes ir
visit
en
the
cualquier
pristine
orden.
beaches
dice.
of Whakapanu Island? The Karui whisper of a curse that afflicts all who travel there. Perhaps it's related to the weapon you seek. Or maybe you will visit the volcanic shores of the Isle of Kin. The Kin have been more restless recently, mining for
Esa habilidad se ve
sulfite and
cool,
driven by
¿no?
some dark
Oh my
force.
god, what the fuck was that?
Perhaps you will choose to consult with one of the local Karui tribes. Their ancient wisdom could hold clues to finding the Third Edict. No matter where you choose to go, you will fight dangerous beasts, find fabulous treasures,
Tesoros fabulosos. 100 de oro, una transmutation.
and battle incredible bosses.
¡Epa!
A challenger!
Esa se parece a...
Your soul!
Me olvidé el nombre. Llama de
There are
White.
8 islands to discover,
llamaba?
each teeming with
La
its
de las
own
profecías.
flora and fauna. Act 4 contains over 100 new
Se
monster
Wukong,
types,
sí, pero no.
16 new areas, 12 new
Monaco.
bosses, and plenty of other interesting encounters.
¡Epa!
There's a huge amount to show,
Epa,
but we're
Booba.
not going to spoil too much here.
Booba
We
spotted.
want to give you a chance to discover it all for yourself. What happens after Act 4?
Navali.
Well,
esa.
until now you had to repeat the entire campaign again before you could face the endgame. But after adding Act 4,
Sí, sí se la ven.
the game is far too long to make you do that. We needed something else to do in between the end of Act 4 and the endgame.
Ya no
So
te
what
van a
else
hacer
could we do?
repetir los actos.
Add 3 new mini-acts, of
Vas a
course,
poder
and we're calling
simplemente
them the
ir directo al
interludes.
endgame pasando por estas cosas.
The interludes are a set of 3 temporary side stories that will be included in the game until Act 5 is released, that will take you to level 65 where the endgame can begin.
Ok, son historias mínimas
The first
para
interlude
ayudarte
sends
a
you on
llegar
a
al
journey
endgame.
back to Ogham.
Y eso es todo.
Renly has been leading the efforts to rebuild Ogham village after the defeat of Count Geonor, but there's a new danger afoot. The nearby town of Holton is surrounded by an impenetrable darkness,
Oh,
and each
Jesus.
night their corrupted townfolk emerge to raid the local
What the
farmlands.
Fuck, man.
You will discover new areas
¿No se parece el acto?
and new bosses.
Oh,
You'll need to
wow.
find your way through the darkness, uncover the source of corruption,
Soon you will serve our master.
and defeat it.
Yes, I shall dance with that cool.
Jesus, no se ve
And
súper
that's just
cool.
the first interlude. The second interlude will have you return to the Vasteri Desert, where Asala has been given a sacred duty. When the skies align, the gifting of water requires a chosen Sekima to meet with the Selkari, guardians of the sacred water, but they're nowhere to be found.
El
You will
primer
need to track
interludio
down the
es en el acto
Selkari.
1, el segundo interludio es en el acto 2.
Find those responsible for disrupting the gifting. Fight even more new bosses.
Damn.
Discover the secrets of the ancient ritual. Discover new locations. And ultimately help Asala carry out her sacred duty. Now for Interlude 3. As Royal Thaumaturge of the Vaal, Doyani had plans within plans to save his people from the cataclysm perpetuated
el tercer
by
interludio es el
Atzeri's
acto
lust for
3.
power. One such plan involved sealing a group of willing Vaal deep in a great mountain vault near the home of the Asmeri, deep enough to survive the cataclysm. Even though thousands of years have passed, he believes that their descendants may still live, and may be key to defeating the beast. The journey up the mountain will be dangerous.
Ok, ok. En el tercer acto,
New
estos
foes
patanes-
stand in your way,
unos Baal quieren
and the
simplemente
further
quedarse
up the mountain you
encerrados para
venture, the colder
sobrevivir.
it will become.
Some bullshit, no sé. Tienes que llevarlos hasta allá.
Explore caves of ice, and enter the vault itself. Who can say what you will find within?
¿Quién sabe que lo
Interludes are
conseguirás
6 to
adentro?
7 areas each, and generally include 4 boss fights as well.
Donde primero pueden ser hasta
When you
6
put that
personas.
together with Act 4, that adds up to 35 new areas in the campaign and 24 new bosses. It's worth making clear that the interludes are temporary. When Act 5 and 6 are added, the interludes will be going away. These are side stories after all, But don't worry, the bosses and areas that make up the interlude are all part of
Dijeron
the
que cuando
endgame.
incluyen
We're
el
not just gonna
acto
throw them
5 y
away.
6 van a quitar los interludios.
And with that,
Pero
we don't
los
need
bosses se van
cruel
a quedar en las
difficulty
zonas.
anymore. We do know that it was a pretty big chore to have to play through the campaign multiple times on each character, and this was a huge reason that the campaign could feel like a bit of a slog when playing through again. But we do also have another new feature to address that particular concern as well. So let's talk about sprinting. In 030, when you hold down the dodge roll button, your character will go into a sprint after they finish the roll. This is available on all character classes, and there's no limitation on how long you can sprint for.
Todos los personajes
The
pueden...
primary purpose of this feature is to make navigating areas faster when out of combat. Because of that, if you do take a hit while sprinting, you'll fall to the ground. The best idea is to use a skill when you see monsters. That'll break you out of the sprint so you can engage with no danger.
Alright, básicamente puedes
If you do
correr,
need to run away
después de
from
hacer un roll
monsters,
puedes
just hold
correr,
space
pero
bar.
si algo te toca, te
You won't be
tumba.
vulnerable during the roll, and you're faster while sprinting than basically any monster in the game, allowing you to retreat from combat.
Dice que vas a ser más rápido de cualquier monstruo en el
Sprint is a
juego
pretty significant change to PoE 2's gameplay.
para salir del
What I like
combate.
most about it is that we can accelerate the pace of the game for those who want that without having to compromise on PoE 2's more visceral combat systems. Okay, so that's the new extensions to the campaign.
That's pretty good, man.
But there's a whole giant league to play through as well.
Hay una
I'll leave
liga
that
para
to
jugar.
Mark to talk about later. And that's because what I want to talk about now is the new stuff for your characters. And probably one of the biggest new systems here is with the support gems. Now, support gems are one of the most interesting elements to creating a build. They're what enables so many interesting mechanics and different ways to play. But PoE 2's support gem system has just never been quite right.
Okay.
One of the major issues is the limitation of only having one support gem of each type on your character.
Van a cambiar las
We didn't
gemas,
want
support,
builds to just become
hacer eso,
using the
¿verdad?
same 5 most powerful supports in every skill. The problem with this design, though, is that it's actually working against using multiple skills in your build. If you can only use each support gem on one skill, it means that you're encouraged to go all in on that one ability. And we want to encourage you to combo your abilities, something needed to change. So with that in mind, we've removed the restriction of having one of each support gem
Ahora
per
puedes tener
character.
múltiples
You can now use as
support
many
repetidos.
copies as you like. This should drastically increase the amount of possible builds and increase the amount of skill diversity.
Esto va a aumentar la cantidad de builds posibles y la diversidad de
There are a lot of potential
builds.
builds that suffered from the previous restriction.
Okay, bien, vamos
For
a ver.
example, a poison build previously couldn't add poison to more than one skill. They couldn't use stacking poison on more than one skill either. This severely limited your ability to combo with anything outside of the specifically designed poison archetype. But now you can.
Okay, it's a buen punto.
Many utility skills previously couldn't scale to endgame because the supports that would make them scale were more useful to use in other skills. You would never speed up killing Palm with martial tempo when you would much rather use it on your primary skill instead. There are more examples like this all over the place.
Okay.
In addition to that, though, we thought there wasn't enough feeling of progression in the supports as you went through the game. There were only 3 tiers of supports, and many of the most important ones were given out at Tier 1.
Claro.
Also, there were no strict upgrades, meaning that upgrading supports when you ran
Antes
out
había
of
3
sockets
tiers de
required
supports,
quite a
ahora
lot
hay
of
5
thinking.
tiers.
In order to solve these issues, we now also have multiple levels of many supports as you go through the game.
Hay niveles de los
For example,
supports. Por
double
ejemplo.
barrel support gives you an extra bolt, but at the cost of 30% less reload speed.
Okay.
At Tier 2, the penalty gets lowered to 20%. But then at Tier 3, the support gem gets something new. It now reloads automatically when you heavy stun an enemy.
Okay.
In some cases, the highest
Hey,
tiers might work a little
dude.
differently, and you'll have to decide if you like the upgrade or not, depending on your build. For example, rapid casting. The first couple of levels gives 15, then 20% increased cast speed.
Okay.
But then at Tier 3, it changes to a new approach. For each different spell you cast in the last 8 seconds, you get 10%
Ooh, eso me
increased
gusta.
cast speed, which could be a pretty big bonus if you use a lot of different spells. So that's pretty good for upgrades
Interesante.
through the
I
campaign.
like it.
But we wanted to add a little more spice to the endgame for supports too. And that's where our new system, lineage supports, comes in. You can think of these like unique items, but for supports. There are supports that are
Básicamente,
only available at endgame, but they're much more
tiers de
powerful.
supports. Cada
Like
tier
Wrath
es
as
mejor que
Assault.
el anterior, pero lo
It's an
lo tienen
upgraded
en
version of
niveles
Double Barrel
posteriores.
that reloads your skill as you dodge roll, as well as increasing the number of bolts it can hold. But it does mean that it's the only way you can reload the skill now. Now, unlike regular supports, you can't find these through the uncut support gem. Just like unique items, many of these can be found from specific bosses.
Eco 2 veces.
And there's a ton in the regular drop pool too. Some of them are fairly rare,
Más unos level de skill gem con
others fairly
quality.
common.
O sea, chance de tu load ball, siempre el incline
Some
ball.
of them are build defining. Others are just straight up power upgrades. All in all, there's around 40
Jeez.
lineage supports being added throughout the endgame.
40.
So there's a lot of power to find
No,
out there.
14. Dijo,
Now,
no, dijo
the new
40
support
or
gems are
14.
certainly going to open up a lot of builds.
Okay.
But of course, we have a huge range of
Rápidamente,
improvements to individual character classes as well. As well as adding new skills, we have a big focus on buffing existing skills so that they can scale well into the endgame. There's a huge amount to cover here,
Okay,
so we're
40
not going to discuss
supports.
everything.
De estos
We're just going
especiales.
to quick fire through some of the coolest changes.
A ver, los cambios más
We
cool de
wanted to
los
make
skills.
cold a more useful element on the Ranger, so we've expanded the cold tools available. As well as increasing its range, Escape Shot now creates fragments of ice whenever it hits the ground. These fragments explode after a short time, making the skill better for killing groups of enemies.
Ok, deja fragmentitos.
But not only that,
Y eso explotan.
we added an ice fragment support that creates more of them when killing frozen enemies.
Ok.
And a new buff skill called
Eso
Ice Tip
va a ser
Arrows
abusable.
that allows all your arrows to create ice fragments.
Todas tus flechas crean
This
ice
already gives
fragments.
clear to rangers wanting to use ice. But to take further advantage of the ice fragments, Freezing Salvo has been upgraded to shoot additional cold arrows towards every fragment, giving you a nuke-like ability. We've also modified Snipe to consume frozen from enemies, dealing a huge amount more damage, giving you a nice ice single target option.
Ok,
And
el
something you
sniper
might
pega
notice
muy
about
duro si
this is
tienes
that the
frozen.
bonus
Eso
is
es
a
lo que
lot
habíamos
higher
visto
against
del leak.
bosses. This is actually a change you'll see throughout the entire game. Since it's a lot harder to freeze a boss, you should get a bigger reward for it.
Nice.
Another theme you'll see throughout the game is making movement feel better. Toxic Growth is a skill that was pretty cool, but a bit annoying to use with the jump that it had. Now Toxic Growth is a range skill, so you can spam it more easily.
Toxic Growth simplemente lo puedes
And we
tirar
also added a new
no
poison
tienes que
skill while
saltar
we were
con
at
Toxic
it,
Growth.
called Toxic Domain. It creates a small area around you that makes all your attacks create toxic growth pustules, but attached to monsters.
Okay,
Another
nice.
skill that was annoying to use was Electrocuting Arrow. It's now just a regular
Es
arrow,
verdad,
making
el
it
que
easy
tenga
to
era
use.
molesta. Se veía cool, pero era molesta.
But it also means you can support it with projectile supports. And it now also has Area of Effect, making it a tool
No
for
puede
more
hacer
than just
pierce, no
single
puede hacer
target,
chain.
and allowing it to
No puede
scale
hacer
into the
pop.
endgame. We also added a new spirit reservation called Mirage Archer. This is a meta skill that allows you to create shadowy clones of yourself to use a skill of your choice.
¿Le pegan también al clon o no?
Of course, one of the other big problems the Ranger had was survivability. Evasion was the weakest of the three defenses, and we wanted to
Que va a
change
llegar
that.
a la más débil de las
Currently,
tres
evasion
defensas.
doesn't evade all types of hits in the game, so you're still vulnerable to things like
Dime que
slams
no
or
jugaste con
unblockable
armadura,
attacks.
si dime que no jugaste con armadura.
To make evasion characters more tanky, we're adding a new mechanic called Deflect.
Deflect, ok.
Unlike evasion, Deflect works on everything, and if you successfully deflect a hit, you take 40% less damage. Items can now give you a mob that
Deflection
gives you some
rating.
amount of deflection based on your evasion,
O sea, ahora tienes, ahora la evasión sube el deflection.
and there's a bunch of it available on the passive tree too. Deflection is rolled in addition to evasion, so this is an upgrade for regular hits too. And unlike evasion, there's no maximum chance. You can reach 100% deflect against all hits if you spec into it enough.
Damn,
Of
o sea,
course,
puede llegar al
this is a
100%.
buff that helps all dex characters, so the mercenary and the monk, but especially the huntress, are seeing big defense boosts from this as well.
Men, quiero jugar Hunters
Speaking
de
of
Poison.
defensive mechanics, let's talk about block and parry.
Block
Now,
and parry.
one of the big
Okay.
concerns on the release of the huntress was
I'm out.
parry feeling unreliable. One of the
don't
big
know, man, I
reasons
don't
for this
care.
is there's a lot of hits that are not blockable, and thus
But-
not parryable either.
Va a ser un cambio muy grande.
So a huge balance change we're making is that now everything is blockable, except for specifically unblockable red flash skills that bosses use.
Solo cosas. Todo es bloqueable excepto lo
This
imbloqueable.
makes parry much more reliable. And not only that, but to make block and parry nicer to use, you now also move faster than before while using these abilities. This is a massive
Yeah.
buff to passive block as well. So to counter that, we did have to lower the max passive block a bit, but overall you should feel much safer.
Que nerfearon el passive block a cambio de que
Fire
el block
skills
es
on the
mucho
warrior
mejor.
were not really cutting the mustard, so we decided we needed to upgrade a bunch of them, but also add some more as well. Let's start with a buff. Volcanic Fisher now branches into multiple fishes, giving it much more clearing potential.
Ok, Fisher da más cositas.
We've also added a new skill called Forge Hammer. This skill throws a molten hammer that does a slam at a distance. You can recall the hammer back by using the skill again if you like. But
Wait,
the
that is
cooler thing
Thor?
to do is to use a Warcry near it. Using a
Thor,
Warcry
pero
makes
con-
the hammer explode, making a bunch of volcanic fishes around.
Hey,
Volcanic fishes re-trigger when you slam them, so it's a great skill
O sea-
to make a flaming arena to fight a boss.
eres un melee pero rango.
We also buffed Perfect Strike to have much larger area of effect, and changed Molten Blast to not always force you to move forward. Trust me, it feels a lot better to use now. The skill now has massively boosted chance to ignite monsters as well. And
I
you're going to
fire
want to
Thor,
ignite monsters
bitch.
due to a new glory skill called Ancestral Cry. Ancestral Cry charges up
un
with glory
benevolent
by
rango,
igniting
yo creo que va
monsters,
bien,
invoking King Kaum's favor. After you do, use it to channel Kaum's ancestral power.
Jesus,
Every attack will
what
be
the fuck?
ancestrally boosted with fire. Your very steps will explode, triggering volcanic fissures, and molten balls will erupt from your attacks.
Eso me va a fundir la tarjeta de video y me encanta.
Warrior shield skills were another area we wanted to improve. Now
Creo que
that
se
we've got
lagueó hasta el
sprint,
Twitch,
we actually
boludo.
don't need to have a cooldown on shield charge anymore. It now also does more damage the further away you are when you use it.
Pega más duro mientras estés más lejos. El shield charge.
Shield wall got significantly upgraded AoE. Also, you can shield charge right through it to
Wait,
trigger all
¿esa
the
habilidad
walls.
existía?
We also added a new shield war cry.
Heal yourself!
Fortifying Cry gives you a defensive buff, but it also builds up charge on your shield that empowers your other shield skills.
Hay un guardia que
And Magma
buffea
Barrier
todas las
now
habilidades
doesn't
de skills.
require timing in order to use. Just wait for your shield to charge up and block. Seismic Cry now stuns enemies that are primed for stun. And we changed the Sunder interaction with Armor Break. It now also gives a Sundered Armor debuff that makes enemies take 40% extra physical damage. Great for
Oh my
bosses.
god, the damage, boludo.
Ancestral Warrior Totem has undergone some pretty significant changes too. We wanted the skill to feel more like using an ultimate. That summoning an ancestor to fight for you was a big deal. So we've changed this totem to require 3 endurance charges to summon, and massively buffed its damage.
Pide
It also now
3
scales your
endurance
weapon
charge
damage too.
summonear el totem, pero que pega mucho más duro, dice.
Since there's no limit anymore, if you build around generating endurance charges, you can summon an entire forest of totems.
Oh, ahora si
In
tienes
order to
mucha
make that
endurance puedes
easier,
hacerte estos
we added some new
infinitos.
sources of endurance charges. There's now a support to make perfect strike generate charges, and a support for generating endurance charges from heavy stuns as well. Speaking of totems, we wanted to upgrade the Warbringer. Among the other changes we've made to this class, Answered Call now gives an extra totem, and the spirits have just been generally buffed in many ways. Use it with your limitless ancestral warrior forest to make an army of Karui that would make Tukahama proud. We've also merged the Great Wolf Howl and Warcaller's Bellow support, so that you can get all the benefits with 1 point. And Encased in Jade no longer removes the Jade when getting hit, making it a much better defense.
Ok, entonces básicamente buffearon toda esta clase.
Next up, let's talk about
en todo.
accuracy. Accuracy was always intended to be something that warriors didn't need to care about very much so long as they're in close combat. But unfortunately, that's not currently the case. This was particularly annoying with skills like Bone Shatter, which you certainly don't want to mess with. So we significantly buffed your chance to hit at close ranges when you don't have
Buffearon
much accuracy.
significativamente el chance de golpear a...
Warriors shouldn't require any accuracy
en
investment
cortas
in order to
distancias
hit
o
with
cuando
close
estás a
range
melee,
attacks.
básicamente. Para que si eres un warrior no necesitas mucha curación.
We also wanted to improve armor. Now, one of the major weaknesses of armor is the inability to defend against elemental damage.
No, esa es
In
la
order to
cosa más
mitigate
débil.
this, we're adding a lot more of the stat that allows your armor to defend against elemental damage. It's now available on items and in a lot more places on the passive tree. One of the most important improvements we've made in 030 is to
puede funcionar
decount the
para
action
cosas
and flow of
elementales,
shooting
pero es un
crossbows.
stat, es un
You can now
modificador.
reload
La armadura
crossbows
ya es
without any
una-
movement penalty.
En la curación
But not
ahorita,
only that, all skills that can be used while
es
moving
casi
now
que no lo
slow you
necesitas
for a
para
shorter
hacer un
amount of
warrior.
time.
Necesitas-
This change
estás cuerpo a
benefits
cuerpo
everyone, not
y
just
tienes mucho más
crossbow
chance de
skills.
golpear.
With both of these changes put together, the
Pero
run
no,
and
pero
gun
es que la
playstyle
armadura
feels
es
much
peor,
better.
que es mucho peor que en Path of Exile 1.
It's hard to explain how important this change is for the feel of the class. The mercenary is also a good chance to talk about how we're rebalancing to make comboing skills much better. Take Shock, for example. It buffs damage and lasts 4 seconds right now, but that isn't really giving you enough time to take advantage of it. If you're going to add a lightning skill into a build that otherwise wouldn't use one, we need to make mechanics like this much better. So we've increased shock duration on monsters to last 8 seconds,
Dura 8 segundos
and skills
ahora
like Plasma
el
Blast,
shock.
which are intended to be good at shocking enemies, now increase the damage bonus by a lot more. You'll find changes like this all around the game. Chill now lasts 8 seconds, giving you more of a reason to weave in cold damage. Freezing skills are better at
Dura
freezing.
8 segundos. Nice.
Burning skills need to cause burns that last longer. But making skills like Permafrost Bolts and Incendiary
Okay.
Shot double down on how they're supposed to be
Resumiendo
used,
esto,
it makes using them in your build
el
alongside
chill
other
es un
skills
mejor
much more likely.
element, el freeze es un mejor element, el shock es
also
un mejor
making sure to
element
buff
y el
specific
burning es un
combos
mejor
too.
element.
The freeze explosions from frag rounds now chain to nearby enemies. And using high velocity rounds with armor break will now fragment the opponent's armor. This causes monsters to take a portion of high velocity rounds damage with every subsequent hit, even tiny pellets. So that means following it with a shotgun blast is way more effective.
Ok,
Now, there's a lot more buffs to
cuando un
crossbow
enemigo
skills,
está armor
but for now,
broken,
I'm just going
hay
to talk
una
about the
nueva
new one
cosa
we
que tiene
added,
el,
the mortar cannon. This one lets you
el
socket
mercenario
any grenade skill,
que amplifica
and
el
using
daño
it will
de
summon a cannon which loads and then
cualquier otro hit
fires
que
the
le
grenade
hagas.
you choose.
Es como una especie de impale, pero con el armor broken. Ahorita lo vamos a explicar mejor.
Another issue on the mercenary were banners.
Esto suena
They were
OP.
just not very good, so we're doing a big upgrade to them. They now last longer, don't disappear when moving out of them, and we removed the Valor mechanic. They now just give a much more consistent and stronger buff, and you can use them when you get enough glory. On which, one of the main focuses was making various minion types more useful to use together.
Okay.
Melee
Los
minions in
banners
particular were just
son
not
bullshit,
that
los
great
bufiaron,
compared to
pero no sé si
ranged
sea
ones.
suficientemente bueno.
As a starting
Después lo
point,
veremos.
we just straight up removed the requirement for minions to have accuracy.
Los minions
Attack
tienen
minions now
accuracy.
always hit, which makes them way better. Brutes got some good numeric buffs, but we also added a new command skill where they do a war cry that intimidates
¿Podemos
enemies
poner al man
and
que
detonates
balancea
any frozen
minions, que
monsters and allies
balancee
around you in
melee,
big
por
cold
favor?
explode. We've
Que
also
balancee
changed
la
the Frost
armadura.
Mage's command skill to an ability that adds ice armor to your other minions,
O
adding
sea,
a
los
layer of
minions
defense.
necesitan accuracy.
And it makes them deal cold damage back to the attacker
Y
as
al
well.
warrior es como que bueno, o
The
sea,
ice
ahora tienes
armor
más
also
accuracy
makes the
estás
minion
hambre.
count as frozen, so the Brute's Warcry can detonate them too. Unearth was changed to work on corpses of your dead skeletons, allowing you to summon the minions more easily in boss fights.
Oh, un nerf
And
funciona
they
con
also
los
got a new jump
cuerpos de
ability,
los
allowing them to
esqueletos,
get into
nice.
combat faster. Ray's Spectre was also feeling pretty weak for the spirit cost they have. To be honest, we were a little afraid of these when we first balanced them. We've both decreased the spirit cost for a large range of monsters, and have significantly increased Spectre damage too. They should feel a lot more impactful.
Bufiaron a los espectros muchísimo y le bajaron el costo de
There's also
espíritu.
a lot of new spellcaster
Muchos.
weapons with newer cult skills. But I'll just talk about one of them that I thought was particularly cool. The
Okay.
Reaping Staff is actually a wicked scythe that gives
Son
you a new
nuevas
ability called
armas de
Reap.
caster.
When an enemy is low in life, you can dash forward and rake enemies with the scythe to cull them instantly, healing you. It can also inflict critical weakness on enemies too. Now, there's a lot of balance changes in the Witcher's Ascendancy classes, but I'll just talk about two of them for now. On the Blood Mage, you were previously required to spend your first points on Sangomancy,
Antes era así.
which really was supposed to be the downside for being able to access the powerful abilities on the rest of the class. In order to make picking the Blood Mage a better early option, we made Sangomancy free, unlocking the power of the
Sangomancy
rest of the
es
class
gratis.
immediately. On the Infernalist, the Demon form wasn't something people were really using because you lost your weapon stats while transformed. Well, you no longer do, so it's a much better option now.
Ya no pierdes los stats de tu arma con la Demon
On the
Form.
Monk, the wind skills needed a big upgrade for sure. Staggering Palm can now stack up its duration if you use the skill multiple times in a row, so you can keep the effect of all your skills throwing up wind much more easily.
La duración del
Wind Blast had the
buff
purpose of
de
building up to
Stacking
dazing
Palm
an enemy, but dazing
queda
just
más-
wasn't worth all that
dura
effort.
más tiempo, básicamente.
Now it just dazes on hit, meaning a
Pero no
single
me acuerdo
Wind
que
Blast
hacía
will
eso.
make all your skills stun enemies more easily.
Esto ya más fácil.
Following up with Vaulting
Eso hay
Impact
que-
on a
hay que
dazed
verlo uno
enemy
por uno.
previously did a bunch of stun. Now it allows you to break your enemy's stance. When their stance is broken, following up with a fast attack will do way more damage. A cool build that certain people always enjoyed in PoE 1 was hand-to-hand combat, but until now we just didn't have a real way to make it viable.
A la gente le gustaba el hand-to-hand combat.
That changes
no.
now. The Monk, as a true martial artist, now has the ability to learn the Hollow Palm technique, a keystone that lets you use all quarterstaff skills while unarmed.
Puedes usar todos los staff,
All
todos los
quarterstaff
skills de
attacks
staff
now have a special
con-
unarmed version, and you get further bonuses to all your attacks from stacking energy shield and evasion on your character.
Oh, boy.
A new
Oh.
keystone we also added to the Monk section of the tree is Walker of the Wilds. This changes Mana Leech to work with elemental damage instead of physical,
Mana Leech
which is
funciona
pretty
con
useful
elemental
for all those
damage.
elemental attacks the Monk has.
Okay,
but it
is
works
it-
well for the Ranger too.
That's pretty
Now,
good.
one of the least used Ascendancy classes
No
in the
soy muy
game is the
buena.
Acolyte of Chayula, so we knew we needed to make some changes here.
El
One of the
alcohólico
key
de
things we had to
Cholula.
do was make the chaos damage that the Acolyte can do much more useful.
Ok, vamos a ver qué hace.
So we've added a new skill
Let's see.
allowing chaos damage to ignite, shock, chill, and freeze.
That's pretty good.
Embracing the elemental prowess of the Monk in a truly chaotic fashion. In addition, he can make all of his chaos damage leech. And we've buffed Into the Breach
leech
and
re-
Embrace the
leech
Darkness
con
by
chaos
moving the
damage.
effects of the 4-point nodes into the base skills. He also gains a new notable, Grasp of the Void, which leaves void illusions behind you as you dodge roll. If they're killed, they do massive explosions of darkness, dealing damage to everything in sight. Now let's talk about
Vamos a tener que
sorceress
leerlo de
skills.
nuevo porque no estoy seguro. Se
One of the things we
interesante,
want to
pero
improve
habrá
in
que
the
leerlo.
sword is the ability to use multiple elements together more effectively. Now,
That's
this might
my
seem
build,
small,
man.
but one of the things pushing you towards using a single element is debuffs like elemental curses, which lower resistances of a single element. In order to fix that, we're making quite a lot of game-wide changes to these kinds of mechanics to broaden what they apply to. So for example, there's no longer 3 curses for fire, ice, and lightning. Instead, there's just a single curse that buffs all 3 at the same time.
Hay una sola curse, que es Elemental Weakness.
And things like
ahora.
Frost Bomb, which gave you cold exposure, now give elemental exposure. You can use it to buff any of your other skills.
Frostbomb ahora da Elemental Exposure. Wow,
We also
that's
wanted to
pretty
make
good.
switching between different weapon sets smoother, so you can use different elemental staves more effectively. To do that, we've removed the weapon switch time. It now happens instantly. This applies game-wide too.
Wow, quitaron la
And
cosa
we
de
didn't just want to
cambiar
stop
de
there.
armas. O sea,
We
ahora
wanted
puedes
to add some
cambiar
specific
instantáneo.
mechanics that work between different elements, and that's where elemental infusions come in.
Ok, que
Certain
ahora va a ser el
skills can
mercenario
now
porque
drop
esa era toda
elemental
la cosa del
infusions.
mercenario,
For
¿no?
example, when a frost bomb explodes, it leaves behind a cold infusion on the ground. After picking it up, you can spend it on one of any number of different skills to transform how they work. Spark will create a nova of cold-infused projectiles.
Oh,
Ice Nova will leave a
nice.
chilled area on the ground.
Hay ciertos skills que van a dejar
And we also
infusiones
added a new low-level
elementales.
skill that fires ice shards. Use it with cold infusion though, and the ice shards will explode.
Y cuando lo puedes gastar con otras
Orb of Storms
habilidades.
now generates lightning infusions when you cast enough spells near it. And that's all spells, by the way, not just lightning. Once you have one,
shit,
you could cast a
man.
lightning flame wall, which adds both fire
Man,
and
¿te
lightning
acuerdas
damage
cuando
to all the
dije que tenía
projectiles that
ganas
pass
de
through?
jugar Ranger Poison? Yeah, when anyways.
Or power up
Bueno,
Fusillade with
Sorceress
lightning,
again,
which will
baby.
generate arcs to nearby enemies as each fireball hits. Or maybe go lightning on lightning with arc.
Bruh.
This skill is now a projectile, and by infusing it, you can go full Palpatine.
Arc es un proyectil ahora.
Get fire infusions by blowing up monsters with Living Bomb. Then use them with Comet to summon a giant fire meteor from the sky. Or use it with Firestorm, which transforms it from a small area into a much bigger one. Firestorm is
man.
unique in that it can be infused by multiple different elements at the same time. Add an ice infusion to rain down ice at the same time as the fire.
O sea, y es doble.
And add lightning to add deadly strikes from the heavens into the mix.
Jesus.
Or use it with all 3 to generate a storm that is truly apocalyptic.
Oh my god.
Cold Snap has been simply turned into
Ahora ya me dejan
Snap.
hacer combos.
Previously, you could use it to shatter ice, but now it works to
Oh,
detonate
man.
all of the different elemental ailments and makes them leave behind infusions. And just like how you could previously use it on Frostbolt, you can now also use it on Orb of Storms and Solar Orb to detonate those as well, which means you can create many infusions at once. We also have a Spirit Reservation skill and a support gem to help generate them too. On the passive tree,
Damn.
we've added quite a few new
Esto hay
keystones
que
to the
leerlo aparte,
Sorceress
esto.
section.
Hay muchas formas de
Here are a couple
generar
of examples.
infusiones.
The Black Flame Covenant keystone converts your fire spells to chaos
¿Qué?
and causes your ignites to deal chaos damage. Your fire spells and ignites will also turn purple.
Oh, purple. Dude.
The Ritual Cadence keystone causes your invocation skills to trigger more times, but makes them trigger periodically over a longer duration instead of one.
Man.
Great for those auto bomb abilities.
Yeah, fuck Ranger, man.
Now, in addition to skill changes,
Anyways,
we've added
Fire
a lot more
Sorcerer,
options to
baby,
the
let's
passive tree for
go.
each class. Overall, there are more than 100 new notables on the tree, usually around 20 per class, along with smaller clusters as
Oh
well.
my god, dude,
Check
what
out the old version. And here's the new version.
Oh my-
It's a lot more dense, and there's more interesting nodes than before.
Ah,
Now, we probably
hay
can't go through
mucho.
too many of these in the live stream, so I'll just show you one from each class's area of the tree.
Jesus.
We tried to be a lot more thematic with the new nodes. So for example, the Molten One's Gift. It lets the benefit of armor break apply to your fire damage. Or how about Last Stand, which gives you lots of stats as your situation becomes more and more desperate.
Interesante.
A lot of these have themes aligning with ascendancy classes. Like for the Gemling Legionnaire, for example. You have crystallized immunities, which makes you immune to different status ailments, depending on which support gem color you have socketed the most.
Pero dice la mayoría, no podemos tener los tres.
Another ascendancy
Bueno,
class aligned notable
not
is Sanguimatic Rituals. It allows arcane surges to generate life instead of mana, unlocking that support gem to be used with the Blood Mage Ascendancy.
Wow. That's pretty
In the
good.
Sork area, you'll find these Archon nodes that allow you to convert all of your elemental damage to a specific element. You become a Lightning Archon when you spend enough mana, after which all your skills will be converted to Lightning, and you will do extra Lightning damage as well. We have ones for Cold and Fire too, with different triggers.
Conviertes todo
Here's
tu
another cool
daño.
one. Elemental Practitioner gives crit bonuses if you've triggered a skill recently, while also making crits generate more energy for triggers. Or maybe you'd like the Great Boar. It gives you a reason to stack dexterity to make you tougher, giving a bonus to life and
Here
stun
we go
threshold.
again, dude.
Or the Cunning Fox. It straight up gives you 5% quality to all your gems.
No, está sucker new meta. All meta.
Now, another
same
major
meta.
change is attribute requirements. We felt like players probably had a few too many nodes and attributes and not enough in interesting passives.
Oh.
So we lowered attribute requirements by 25% across the board. That means you'll have more points to spend on interesting notables rather than just needing to allocate more strength, dex, and int.
Bajar los
Now,
requerimientos
there are
de
way more changes
stats
than
para que
just
puedas
these.
ponerlo más en
These
cosas
are just some of the
interesantes.
cooler ones we wanted to show off. But I'd say that's just about enough for now. We're not even half done yet. So I think it's time that we talk about the League, the rise of the Abyssal. And to do that, I'd like to hand things over to
baby.
Mark.
As you just saw, even though there
Nunca
are
dudé,
major
Jonathan.
changes to the campaign for this
Jonathan
update,
siempre
we
fue mi
want to
amigo.
make sure that
Vamos a
every
hablar de
time you
Abyss.
come back for an expansion, each area feels different with something extra going on. It is really important to make sure your
Nunca dudé,
experience when
Jonathan.
returning between expansions is fresh and filled with new content. And the way we did this was
Esta pi-
through leagues.
Está hablando de las ligas y que
Every
son las ligas
expansion we
para
make has a
las
league,
dos personas.
which not
Básicamente
only
tenemos
has
una
a
liga
fresh
en Path of
economy,
Exile 2 de
but
ahora en
also has new content exclusively available in that league.
Y seguramente
So,
estos se van a quedar y
let's
van a ir
delve into the
agregando
details
contenido
of what Path of Exile 2's first official league is bringing to the table. The Abyssal are a race that have mastery of forbidden magics and necromancy. They were thought to be extinct, but have merely been biding their time underground. You first encounter signs of the Abyssal in Clarefell, where you discover that during the night, weaker members of the Undead Legion have been attacking the encampment. The townsfolk require your help to investigate where the monsters are coming from and put a stop to their attacks.
Who the fuck is that guy?
Ancient creatures lurking beneath the surface.
As you proceed through Rayclast, you'll find fissures in the earth connected to larger pits. The monsters normally inhabiting the area are being affected by it,
Mira, y
harmed
son
by it even,
banda de
having
mobs.
their souls eaten to strengthen the Abyssal underground. As you defeat the monsters, the fissure closes and Abyssal emerge, angered by you killing their food.
Day one.
Once all those fissures have been
Lo
sealed,
predigo.
the pit activates, and more Abyssal pour out.
Day one.
This is where the larger and
Enemies
more
tiran
dangerous
muchos
monsters
mobs.
reveal themselves, as
Tienen
hordes of
que
Abyss will
nerfear
spew
los
out from the
mobs de
pit to
Abyss.
take
No
your
me puedo
soul.
moverme, pero me estudiaron. Son muchos mobs
If
en
you
la
kill a
Abyss.
magic pack, then magic Abyssal arise. If you kill a rare, then a rare monster will emerge from the pit, having
Pero
absorbed
postas,
some
son
or
bastante mobs.
all of its
Son
modifiers for
bastante.
itself. This means the monsters emerging will generally be more difficult and more rewarding, as each modifier gives better
no.
rewards. If you are able to kill them all, the pit will seal shut. As each pit is closed, it reveals a potential reward.
Ok.
Abyssal
Son varios
troves
pits
will
igual
rise
que
up out
eso.
of the pits, allowing you to get some epic loot.
Ok.
Areas often contain many pits,
igual
with
que
many
Abyss
fissures,
de-
and the amount goes
de
up
Path
as
of
you
Exile,
progress
por
through
lo
the game, getting more intense. It doesn't stop there. When monster mods are absorbed, they have a
Pero-
chance to become infused with the dark necromancy, transforming them into abyssal modifiers. For example, you defeat this monster with the Mana Siphoner modifier. Their soul is eaten by the pit, and a rare monster emerges. The Mana Siphoner modifier has transformed into Soul Siphoner, and is now amplified in danger and reward.
Ok. Cuando matas a un mob que tenga alguna habilidad,
Abyssal pits also interact with other
ese
monsters and
mob
mechanics.
bufea al siguiente
If you
mob
defeat a
que
rogue
salga de
exile
Abyss.
that's near one, it'll be revived as a Lichborn that has multiple abyssal modifiers. Lichborn exiles even have their own unique jewel they can drop, if you are lucky enough to encounter and kill them. If an abyss spawns near a boss,
únicos
killing
de
it will summon a
Abyss-
gigantic Giga Larvae creature.
Jesus, what the fuck is that?
Monsters imprisoned in essences near abyssal pits are affected by the
Oh my
abyss too.
god.
They will come with an additional new essence item that can be used to craft your items. So, That's your bread and butter of the
Querían raid
Abyssal League.
bosses en Path of Exile,
Kill
pero there it is,
surface-dwelling
man.
monsters,
Pero de
kill
uno.
the emerging Abyssal, close the fissures, overcome pit encounters, and reap the rewards.
Pero
There's
básicamente,
a lot more to this league,
el
however.
Abyss te crea el caminito,
As you
destruyes
complete
todo el
abysses,
caminito,
you can find ancient
crea más
pieces of
caminos y
bone,
eventualmente van a
preserved from
empezar a
the
salir
remains of
bosses
fallen
and shit like
Lichborn.
that.
These are
Pero
one
no
of
hay
the
que
many
pensar nada,
rewards for
solamente
your
mata a los
mission to
bichitos.
seal the pits. You can use this on a rare item to imbue it with abyssal magic, adding a special hidden modifier to your item. But how do you reveal it?
The fuck is that?
In Act 2 of the campaign, you'll encounter a new area. This area is overrun by the Abyssal and the Lost Men. After
En Acto
clearing
2
through
hay
this
una
area,
área.
you'll find the Well of Souls, a giant cavity with a massive vortex of souls swirling beneath you.
El pozo de las almas.
So how do you reveal the mods on your Abyssal-infused items?
Wait.
Obviously, just throw them in, right? Yes, that's exactly what you do.
Is
Before
this
throwing it in, you are
betrayal?
given the option of how you want to
Veiled Abyss
transform
mod?
it, in the form of a choice of 3 different modifiers. Once
I've
you've
seen
chosen your
this
desired
before.
mod, throw it in, where it will absorb
I've
the
seen
power
this
of the
before.
souls, and the ominous creature will then retrieve it for you. These modifiers can be ones from the core mod pool, all the way through to specialized modifiers that cannot normally appear on items. During the campaign, you can use it as a way to more easily add useful existing mods, but during the endgame, there is a whole set of new and powerful mods you can add to your
Durante la
items.
campaña te van a dar mods
Like
que
this
salen
mod for
normales,
crossbows that
pero-
allows you to place an additional ballista totem.
pero en el endgame hay cosas
Or
especiales.
this one that adds spirit to your staff.
Me sacaron de poder, no lo pusieron en poder.
Or this one that allows you to generate more combo with your quarterstaff
Okay, mira.
skills. And speaking of
This might not
endgame,
be enough.
you can also use the system to craft waystones.
Oh,
With a preserved vertebrae fused into your waystones, you can get some new modifiers that push difficulty and rewards to new heights.
ok.
Here are some examples of those mods. You always get a choice of 3, so you can avoid anything you don't think your character is capable of.
Okay.
With this modifier, the natural inhabitants of the area are all spawned near abysses. And there are up to
De
9 additional
7 a
abyssal pits in the
9
area,
pits?
making it just a full-on abyss ruckus.
7 a 9 pits? What the fuck?
Or this one, which causes the final abyssal pit in the area to always result
último
in a
pit te
boss
manda un
encounter.
boss.
Be it either one underground or one that emerges out.
Ahí también puedes
There are
entrar.
dozens of these Waystone modifiers in total you can get from this crafting. That covers the new crafting mechanic. So
Okay,
what's
mira.
left? Well, we talked about how when
Tal
closing
vez
pits you can
no
get
es
abyssal
suficiente tal vez el
troves.
crafting con esta
But
ahorita, pero esta es la
sometimes
dirección
when
correcta.
closing an abyss, you'll reveal an underground cavern that leads to the abyssal depths.
Merece cómo
After
se lanza.
jumping into the depths, you'll find an abyssal city, swarming with legions of the undead. When underground, every single rare abyssal enemy will have an abyssal modifier. And at the end of the
todos
dungeon,
los
you'll even
enemigos
find
raros
a
van a
rare
tener
with a
modificadores de
more
Abyssal.
powerful Lichborn modifier.
Jeez. dude.
Once you're able to defeat this powerful rare, you can also find some nice rewards. Aside from the entire area being valuable due to the abyssal modifiers on the monsters, it has its own specific drops
Ah, no se ha
too.
acabado la pelea. Jesus, man, bro.
One example is a set of lineage supports that can rarely be found in these depths, like Kurgel's Leash. This support empowers both you and your minions when you command them,
Oh,
granting
de aquí salen
unholy
los
might
supports
to you
locos.
both. Another depth-specific outcome is a set of omen-like items that amplify your abyssal crafting.
Rated of augmentation, what?
Additionally, we're adding some new socketables that can drop from the abyssal depths. Take Ulaman's Gaze, which can be socketed into your armor. These are a bit special in that you can only have one equipped at a time, but give some pretty powerful effects.
Lucky
Think
contra
of them as
parrot
almost
enemies,
a unique socketable for your equipment. In the endgame, where you can still find depths, you also start to find a different type of underground chamber.
Oh?
In these areas, you'll find an ancient spire, a device being used by commanders of the abyssal factions to plunge Rayclast into a lightless
Bro,
void.
No puedo parar a
Your
ver los
goal
clips
is
de
simple.
esa bola
Kill
matando
this
gente.
commander and destroy the spire.
Deje matar al comandante y
There are
destruir la
4 bosses in the
Spire.
Abyss League, And there are
Darkness
some
Central, por
pretty cool
supuesto.
uniques available from them. An example is this belt, Darkness Enthroned. It has 2 sockets. But hold on, socketables don't work on belts. Well, this belt has a special mod that allows it to count as a different slot for the purpose of
Cuenta como un
socketables.
helmet.
This one, for example, counts as a helmet. I
Oh, I
kind
did-
of want one that counts as a body armor.
Hay uno
I
de
wonder
cuenta
how
como
rare
body
that
armor.
one is. You can also find this unique jewel, Undying Hate. This jewel transforms part of your passive skill tree into an abyssal version, and has multiple depths.
Preview.
The
este
deeper
es
it
como...
goes, the more of your passive tree is affected, allowing you to fulfill your fantasy of becoming part Abyssal Lich.
O sea, este es parecido.
Now, the
al
last
L
thing
que
that
te
Abyssal
figures.
commanders can drop
Parecido.
is a Finger of the Lich. But what use do you have with a random undead finger? Well, the next time you return to the Well of Souls, with the finger in your inventory, your character will almost feel compelled. To do what, though, you might ask? To jump in. The items you threw in came back more
Jump
powerful,
in?
right? So, what's the worst that could happen? Well, you will just have to find that one out for yourself.
Oh, no lo voy a decir. Well, nice,
Along
nice.
with
Quiero
the
descubrirlo
introduction of
después.
Act 4
Si
and
consigues
the
el dedo,
Interlude,
que dice que es muy raro,
we'll be
puedes
adding
saltar ahí.
25
Ahí debe ser
new
un boss,
in-game
pero
maps.
así...
these maps will contain
Como
all the
una
new
pija
monsters and
venosa,
bosses
man.
we're adding, improving variety and giving you opportunities to experience the new
Eso
boss
se ve
fights
cool, man.
many times. Let's take a look at some examples. Rock Pools is a map where you explore a shallow rocky coastline, surrounded by coral and filled with sirens. At the end is a giant Goblin King boss, ready to eat sulfite and squish you like a bug. Holton is an Ezomite township which has seen better days. Explore and clear the township to find a gothic, Reaper-like boss, with the ability to manipulate storms and fry you with both lightning and wither you with chaos. Given some of the new bosses added are a bit more epic, such as the Act boss and final bosses of each
Damn,
interlude
dude, el
part,
daño.
it would be a bit of a waste to just use them as regular map bosses. Instead, we'll be adding some new mechanics to the Atlas that use them. These start appearing pretty fast
Okay.
into the endgame and will help bridge the gap until you do your pinnacle bosses. In the desert biome, you can encounter a wild sandstorm. 3 maps around the sandstorm contain a device you must activate. Upon doing this, the sandstorm's magic is disrupted, revealing the map inside and allowing you to access it and find the cause.
Ok.
This presents itself in the form of a boss, similar to the existing Citadel bosses. This boss is a Faradin Swordmaster, who has been blessed with the power of a Time Djinn, allowing him to take his swordsmanship to the next level by replicating himself, maneuvering rapidly, and severing
Jesus.
the fabric of time itself with his powerful slashes.
Ok,
In the water
dude.
biome, you'll encounter a giant maelstrom,
Sí,
where
será
one of the
nada,
maps
nada mal,
surrounding
¿eh?
the water biome connects to it,
O sea,
but the
básicamente,
connection is
el
obscured.
endgame van a agregar esos nuevos
You
bosses
must run
aquí.
the maps nearby, hoping to find a beacon, which will remove the maelstrom and reveal the connection to that map. Another example is this Vaal vault in the mountain biome. But how do we get inside? Running the adjacent maps to it will yield a key, which you can then use to gain access to this vault.
Ok.
Or, you could just trade for one, I guess. Use the
Puedes
key to
tradearle la
dispel the
llave
powerful
o
force field surrounding
conseguirla.
it, leading to the Vaal Elite and their rewards inside. These all contain Uber versions of the Act 4 boss, and the bosses at the end of each part of the interlude. And each have their own exclusive drop pool of new lineage supports, which, as Jonathan spoke about earlier, are powerful
Ok,
support gems
básicamente
that
son
modify
todas
your
las
skills in
versiones
pretty crazy ways.
difíciles de...
As an example of
los
a
bosses nuevos
lineage
de la
support
campaña.
which can come from the Faradin Swordmaster mentioned earlier, we have Garukhan's Resolve, which causes your critical strikes to fork, but requires some mobility on your part to properly enable. From the boss sealed in the Vaal Vault, we have Paquate's Pact, which supports your war cries, causing them to inflict massive amounts of corrupted blood at the cost of your own life. Additionally,
Okay.
some maps can now spawn summoning circles, a room resembling an Ezomite henge. Activating this henge will spawn bosses. It's as simple as that.
¿Sabes que yo no conseguí ese
We'll
mapa
also be
jugando Path
making
of Exile?
changes to how affixes and waystones work. As the current prefixes equals good, suffixes equals bad, iteration isn't quite hitting the mark.
Okay.
We tried something new here in Path of Exile 2, but after seeing the feedback, we decided we actually liked what we had in Path of Exile 1 more.
Epa.
Like Path of Exile 1, each affix will now be both difficult and rewarding. Waystone mods now grant an increase to the number of waystones dropped,
Okay.
and an additional specific upside attached to it.
Los mapas intentaron probar,
This
¿sabes?
means as you roll your
Prefixes
map, they will
buenos,
continue
suffixes
to get
malos.
more difficult and more rewarding,
Pero dice
and
que
allow you to customize the difficulty and rewards of
Ahora
your map better.
básicamente es más modificadores, más
For
difícil.
example,
Pero
the
también más
Frostbitten
recompensante.
mod, which causes enemies to deal cold damage, also increases the rarity of items dropped as its upside.
Okay.
Whereas the of venom suffix modifier, which causes enemies to poison on hit, has the upside of granting increased pack size. Some
Igual que en
maps will
Path of
end up
Exile,
having a lot of
básicamente.
rarity, some a lot of pack size,
Algunos van a
and
tener pack
others will
size.
just have a mixture of everything.
Pack size, quantity,
Due
rarity.
to now having
mezcla
more
de todo,
modifiers granting
depende de lo que
difficulty, we will of course be reducing the difficulty per modifier to account for this.
Va a reducir la
So,
dificultad por cada
that's your
modificador para que
Atlas,
encaje.
maps, and waystones. But what about Breach, Ritual, Pinnacle content, and others of the sort?
Breach, ritual y todo lo
We're
demás.
making some changes around this too.
Okay.
The first change is that you'll now be able to invest 2 points into your specific League Atlas trees before having to run the Pinnacle content. There will be a specific objective for each type of content which grants you those points. For example, in the case of Delirium,
Te van a dar
it's
2
simple.
puntos para
You just need to
invertir
find
en el
and
contenido que te
kill one of
guste
the bosses
antes de
in the
hacer el
map,
contenido pináculo.
Omniphobia or Kosis. The rest of the points for each content come from the Pinnacle content.
Bro, esto es
But we're
mejor.
making some changes to accessibility here too.
It's not
Currently, access to most Pinnacle content requires the same key at the easiest and most difficult version of the content. This creates a negative feeling where at lower difficulties, instead of wanting to run the content, you're often better off just selling it to someone who can run it at maximum difficulty.
Claro.
To address this, each content will now drop splinters, which will not form into singular items. Instead of using the singular combined item in the realm gate, you can now just bring your splinters. Upon inserting the splinters into the realm gate, an interface will appear, allowing you to pick your difficulty, and you'll notice each difficulty has a different entry cost.
Okay, okay.
This
okay,
means if you
that's
want to run
better.
easier difficulties, it costs
Estamos
less,
mejorando.
which also allows you to run this content much sooner into the endgame.
Está mejor esto.
Because these encounters now just require splinters, their corresponding Atlas tree no longer affects the difficulty of them, and has been changed to purely affect the content and maps on the Atlas.
Okay,
The
básicamente,
Arbiter of Ash
de
works a
ahora en
bit
adelante todo te
differently.
va a tirar splinters
Instead
y
of
va a
requiring
costar distinta
splinters, he
cantidad de
still
splinters
needs
dependiendo del
crisis
tier en el que estés
fragments.
haciendo.
We now have only 2 difficulties of the Arbiter. The first, requiring the existing fragments obtained from citadels. The second, Uber Arbiter, requires calamity fragments. These come from citadel bosses also, but only once you've allocated the maximum number of points in your boss Atlas tree, ensuring those citadels are at their highest difficulty level.
Ok, entonces hay 2 tiers
Since
nada
we're
más de
talking
Arbiter of
about
Ash.
Pinnacle content, we also felt that the leveling curve in the late game was a bit too steep. We've smoothed this out a bit so that it's easier to get to the mid-90s. We've also added some new in-game unique items. Let's take a look at a couple. Thunderfist is a pair of gloves that grants Crackling Palm, a skill which empowers your unarmed attacks, granting the ability to call down the storms themselves on enemies you hit.
That's pretty cool.
Put simply, literally every monster you hit with your unarmed skills will be struck by powerful lightning.
Oh, man, esto me va a dejar ciego, me encanta.
Pair this with the aforementioned Hollow Palm technique to embrace your true unarmed prowess in combat.
Oh, man, si esto me llega a salir.
Another unique we're adding is Henekura's Sight. Equip this amulet to be granted the power of the Mother of Death herself. This
Future
is
fast.
reflected by granting you a skill called Foresight. While you have Foresight, your dodge roll no longer avoids hits. But instead, being hit while dodge rolling restores you to full life and makes you unable to die for a brief period of time.
What?
You'll notice when this does occur, a copy of your character appears and takes the full damage. This is you seeing that future, as if you hadn't been wearing the amulet. Ultimately, your
Ya,
in-game
cuando
experience
haces
should be
dodge
more
roll,
streamlined.
si algo te
with
mata,
new
regresas
content
a
to
tu versión
find.
anterior del
You'll be
dodge roll.
able to invest in your Atlas
What?
trees sooner, engage with pinnacle content faster, have less FOMO running said pinnacle content, reach higher levels easier, and do all of that while finding many new chase endgame items. Talking about finding items is one thing, but what about crafting them?
Okay, here we go. Esto es lo importante.
We've taken a step back and looked at some
Esto
of
es
our
el make
crafting
or
systems
break.
to make some notable improvements.
Vamos a ver.
Let's start with essences, which suffered from an
Essences.
issue where the regular essences were effectively useless and didn't give players the tools or excitement that a crafting system should provide. To alleviate these
Las primeras
concerns,
esencias eran basura.
essences are being changed in a few ways.
Y van a hacer más cambios. Vamos a ver
Firstly,
los cambios.
they're being changed to function like regals and add specific modifiers
Funcionan como
with
regals.
specific values, meaning you know exactly what you're going to get. We found that players were often bottlenecked by regal orbs when crafting in the campaign, so this helps to fill that gap,
Pero da
allowing
una-
you to better upgrade your items.
O sea, tiene modificadores
For
fijos.
example, this lesser essence of flames, which will be able to add a flat
Okay.
amount of fire damage to your magic martial weapons.
Ok.
Secondly, we're adding many more tiers.
O sea,
That lesser essence of flames, for example, has a regular variant and a greater variant too, adding even more fire
o
damage
sea, son las
with each
esencias de Path of
upgrade.
Exile 1, básicamente.
The intention of this is so that when you find one early on, you don't worry about
Lo
holding
hicieron
on to
bien
it
la
till
primera vez hace
later to
10
use on a
años,
higher level
entonces.
item. You should feel free to use them as they come to
Pero,
get powerful
pero mira,
upgrades during the
estamos
campaign.
yendo en la dirección correcta. Estamos en la dirección correcta.
Lastly, our highest tier of essences,
Granox, te
now
gustó esto
called
porque regaló 50
perfect
subs.
essences, will function like a chaos orb instead of a regal. So it will replace one of the modifiers on your rare items with the specified mod, such as this perfect essence of flames. You'll notice this one doesn't just add flat fire damage like the ones before it. The perfect essences often give something a bit different, with some
Hay esencias
opportunities to be pretty
perfectas.
damn powerful. There are many different essences, each with many tiers, covering many of the more core modifiers you'd want on items
Entonces,
early
las
on,
esencias normales
through to chase
son,
specialized ones for in-game.
son como regals
Speaking of
y las
in-game,
otras son como
we
caos.
really wanted to expand our crafting options for late in-game crafting projects.
Ok, sí, vamos a ver.
You might have noticed that at endgame, you get way too many transmutes.
Muchos
Wouldn't it be
transmutations.
nice if some of those didn't drop, but instead you got something a little more powerful? At higher levels, you can now find Greater Orb of Transmutation and Perfect Orb of Transmutation. These can be used on normal items to upgrade them to magic, ensuring that the modifier generated is of a minimum level. This is similar to
Okay.
how you find higher tier items on the
Okay.
ground, but for crafting.
Está-
These higher tiers will also exist for Orb of Augmentation, Regal Orb,
Ok, eso
Exalted Orb,
está
and Chaos
parecido.
Orb, meaning you can get
Perfect
all of the
Chaos.
orbs required to take your item from normal rarity to a fully completed rare with guaranteed high tier mods. On top of these new
That's-
core crafting
hay que ver qué
currencies,
tan comunes son esos.
we wanted to make
pero-
sure there are powerful crafting bases to use them on.
Ok, mira.
Now in endgame, you can start to find exceptional items.
Exceptional item.
These are items that drop at normal rarity and are perfect for your from-scratch crafting projects.
Muy bien.
They can come with
hay
extra
una forma
quality,
como de
up to
hacerlo
30%,
de raro a
or an
mágico.
additional socket to use your crafting socketables in. And yes, they can be corrupted for yet another socket.
Ok, ¿hay alguna... ¿Habrá
You
alguna
can also
forma-
get exceptional unique items.
Exceptional uniques?
To add even further to your crafting arsenal, we've added a whole suite of new
Ojalá
omens to
hubiese
ritual
alguna-
content, and removed
¿Cómo
some
se
of the
llama
more
esto?
unimpactful ones that weren't being used.
Una
Some of the new
comunita que
omens
pudiera
include
convertirlo
the
de
Omen of
mágico
the
o de
Ancients,
raro a normal.
which will
¿Cuál
cause your
sería?
next orb of chance to not destroy the item, but generate a random unique of the same class. Or the Omen of Sanctification, which is my new favorite. This will cause your next divine orb used on a rare item to reroll the values of its modifiers, allowing it to exceed the normal minimum and maximum values, raising the ceiling on the new most powerful rare items in the game.
What?
This omen will also cause your item to become sanctified. Sanctified items cannot be crafted, just like corrupted ones, so consider carefully when
O
you
sea,
use
esto puede
this.
exceder el máximo
Another is
número
the
que tenga.
Omen of Chaotic Monsters, which will cause your next Chaos Orb to reroll all modifiers on a Waystone, allowing you to fix your maps if you get some modifiers that are not feasible for your build. Besides these examples, there is a huge variety of new omens for you to discover in your ritual encounters.
Para mi
With the
ritual,
release of Act 4, Notably taking place in the Karori archipelago, you'll be able to now find a
classic,
new
baby.
currency item, Henikora's Lock.
A classic,
Hennikora,
baby.
the Karori goddess of death, has the power of foresight and is able to see many futures, including the outcome of your next craft. So, imbuing her lock onto an item gives you that same power too. For example, you'll know whether or not to use an Exalted Orb on your item, as you will know exactly what the outcome is. So, with all these new crafting improvements, it's safe to say you're going to be making some epic items, and not necessarily just ones for yourself. So given that, it's time to talk about a massive one. Trade.
Bro, lo tengo
It's
demasiado
finally
morcillero,
here.
man.
The moment we've all been waiting for.
Me está...
Fully
Mira lo feliz.
asynchronous trade.
Mira lo feliz que está Mark, man. O sea, me
Over
va a
the years,
explotar,
the way
boludo.
players trade with each other in Path of Exile 1 has morphed from using the forums
Bro,
through to
está
the
como una
in-game
morcilla
chat,
prensada. Ya
all the
no
way through
puedo
to
más,
using
man.
the website.
Se me va a
These
engrenar de
systems
toda la
and all
sangre que
their
está ahí.
iterations work for a while, but with each iteration, new problems eventually reveal themselves. Be it requiring you to be in your hideout too much instead of out there killing
Oh, man.
monsters,
Yeah, wait,
or
wait.
never getting responses from people who are either AFK or just can't be bothered. In order to
Hello,
finally solve
offer one
this,
alt.
and this has been a long time coming, we're adding a new system that allows you to buy items from other players without requiring the seller to be present. They can
Okay.
continue farming, killing monsters, AFK as they please,
Uy, te avisa.
and can even be offline. With the introduction of King's March in Act 4, you will encounter Ange, assistant to
Ange,
Rog in the
mi nueva
Meridian
mejor
Free
amiga.
Traders Company. Over the last 2 decades or so, since Path of Exile 1's storyline, Faustus has handed down his knowledge and expertise to Ange, and she is now ready to take over his business.
Nice, Ange.
If you have a hideout unlocked already, you can immediately invite her there. If you don't have a hideout yet, you will need to acquire one. You can do this by completing a quest to defeat one of the bosses inhabiting an island in Act 4, allowing you then to take a slice of it for yourself, making it your
Okay.
new home and base of operations. Once invited to your hideout,
What's up,
she
Ange?
will now serve as operating your currency exchange, but also serve as the figurehead in your new trading empire.
Shop.
So, how does this new system work? In the existing trade system, you would list items for sale in premium stash tabs.
Ajá.
And then when someone wanted one, you'd have to take it out for yourself and trade it to them.
Estoy jugando por más de 10 años, I know.
Now, instead of using those, you can give your items to Ange so she can sell them for you. Each item must have a price set. The prices are set using in-game currency items, such as Exalted Orbs or Chaos Orbs.
Dime que puedo usar las
Once a
tabs que
price
tengo.
is
Tengo
set,
muchas tabs.
other players
I
will be
got
able to
so many,
find the
man.
item by searching for it on
Tengo
the trade
legacy tabs.
website.
Secure
Once a desired item has
item!
been found, you can hit a button,
Teleport!
which will instantly teleport your character in-game to their hideout. Then,
Oh,
you can
man, los
immediately
bots.
purchase the
Oh,
item.
dude, los
And while
bots.
there, if you want, browse their other goods, in case there's a good
Oh,
deal
man,
someone else
los
hasn't yet
bots.
discovered. You'll notice that as a
Dude, they made a
buyer, on
mistake.
top of the currency the seller set for the price, it also costs gold to purchase an
Bro,
item.
day one.
As Ange has bills to
Cracks.
pay after
No hay
all.
alguna forma de
As a
recuperar el
seller,
item que
you'll
puse por un
immediately
alt.
receive a notification when an item of
Costaba
yours is sold,
cracks.
and can also see an effect above Ange in your hideout when she has unclaimed currency.
Oh, dude, bro.
Just go
Coco
talk
y
to her,
Maffer creo que
claim
están
your
teniendo
currency,
aneurisma ahora
and
mismo, man.
continue playing at your leisure.
No puedes estar tan felices, man. No, no,
As
no puedes
many
estar tan
people
feliz. man.
already acquired premium stash tabs for the purpose of the trade system,
Okay.
we wanted to add a way for you to convert your existing tabs
Uh-huh.
to merchants tabs,
Okay.
if you want. You can do that here, on the website, but only if you purchase those tabs before the release of the Third Edict.
Ok,
To
solo se las
clarify,
compraste
the
antes.
existing trade system will remain fully intact, so your premium stash tabs will not lose any of their functionality. We just figured people
Okay.
might want to switch over to this new system. We expect a lot of feedback around this new system and are looking forward to trying it out with you.
Ok.
As we are
Entonces,
not
los
able to
compraron
test
tabs antes
internally
de
with
que
an
salga el Third
entire
Edict, o sea, puede ser
thriving
ahorita.
economy, there will certainly be some kinks to work out.
Pueden funcionar las
Based
tabs
on
por
how
ahí.
the system goes, we will be
Oh, here
adding
we
it to
go,
Path of Exile 1 when ready, so
Oh,
any of
lo
the
voy a agregar
tabs you
para el segundo,
purchase
let's
will also be
go.
usable there later.
El
Next
cuarto
up,
por cuarto
we're
funcionará,
going to be
buena
talking
pregunta.
about our new
Yo creo
supporter
que no,
packs. Today, we're launching 2 new series of supporter packs.
Ok, yes. Mira,
The Justice and Trathan Executioner packs.
estoy muy pobre.
Each tier contains the pack's full face value in points, alongside several exclusive
Damn,
microtransactions.
that looks good, man.
As always, the microtransactions in these packs are purely cosmetic and do not affect your character's power
Man, that
or
looks really
progression
good.
in any way. The Justice series of supporter packs contains 6 exclusive microtransactions. Claim glory after defeating enemies, or inspire your allies by calling down the Banner of Justice portal.
Yeah.
The Sphinx Mystic hideout decoration will identify items for you, displaying them as it does so. This ancient creature
Oh,
has
lo
been presented
identifica.
with many items over the eons, so has some strong expressions to make on the quality of your wares. Become a true warrior, worthy of delivering the justice of the eternal gods, with the
Man, se ven muy
Apostle
cool
of
las
Justice
cosas en Path of
armor
Exile
set.
2.
This armor set also comes with a matching back attachment containing a set of scales to measure your worth. With the Apostle of Justice finisher effect equipped, the Goddess of Justice herself will appear to decide on a verdict for slain unique enemies. Witness as she decides the fate of your slain foes. Will they ascend to be amongst the gods or be banished to the underworld?
Ok, ¿ascienden o los
The
botan?
Griffin fledgling pet will be your courageous companion as you journey throughout Rayclast.
Ah, qué lindo el grifo.
Take your place in the skies in the
Oh my
plateau of the
God.
gods hideout. This hideout comes with many different sections for setting up your home
horrible
or
ser
base of
pobre.
operations.
It
In order
sucks
to
be
travel
poor,
between them,
man.
you simply just need to walk off
Oh,
the edge.
no.
Like a true eternal god, you can float between the mountains on the clouds themselves.
Ah.
The Trathan Executioner pack series also contains 6
Oh,
exclusive
no.
microtransactions. The Trathan Executioner finisher effect is a brutal display of
¿Por qué tiene que
Trathan
ser
might,
tan cool?
crushing slain unique enemies as if they were bugs beneath your heel.
Oh my god, es demasiado, me encanta.
As a Trathan Executioner, you're the
Okay.
perfect master for the ever-hungry carrion raptor pet. It has taken a particular liking to the taste of other pets, and at your command it will swoop down and eviscerate them, proceeding to
Pueden matar a
satisfy
otras
its hunger by
pets, otras
feeding on their
personas.
corpse.
Y se las co...
The nobles of the 4 major Trathan houses had their mercenaries, but if their hired hands became notably irritating, they'd have to call in the Trathan Executioners.
No.
You can now embrace their methods and become brutality incarnate with the Cruel Trathan Executioner armor set.
Looks
The
pretty
matching
good, man.
Cruel Trathan Executioner cloak will shroud you in scarlet as you crush the skulls of your enemies and leave a trail of blood behind you as you build up a kill streak.
Looks pretty good también.
Or use the alternate variant to simply put a skeleton on your back. Be bathed in blood as you mutilate monsters with the Cruel Trathan Executioner character effect.
Oh, es
The
character
swirling blood increases in volume as your spree of slaughter continues. Both this effect and the cloak use the same kill streak for tracking how much blood is shown. After a
Okay.
long and tiring day of executions, enjoy a relaxing game of dice with the Goblin
Gambling?
Gambler's Hideout decoration. They'll definitely be playing fair, right?
Oh no.
The Pulverizer map device brings a horrid efficiency to punishing the damned of Trathus. Each map you open will
¿Por qué
execute the
todos
next
están
victims.
demasiado over the top, man? Está
This map
exageradísimo.
device in its true ruthlessness tracks the total number of monsters killed, your kills per second, and your largest
Kills
kill
per
streak up to
second.
the point of the map being completed. This is
man.
then displayed on a leaderboard so you can take a measure of you and your
Are you
friends' violence at
leaderboard?
the end of each map. Additionally, any microtransactions from the supporter packs will be made available for use in Path of Exile 1. That's enough about cosmetics. Let's get into the Q&A. But firstly, I want to give a huge thank you for your ongoing
la puta
support.
madre. Man.
We're just about to
No,
start the
180
Q&A
son
with
muy
Ziggy D.
buenos.
Afterwards, at 11 a.m. NZ time,